Hi, real chat. I'm trying something new. I'm in the living room. Can you guys hear and see me in real chat? I'm bringing them over. I'm yelling at them real bad. Okay. Co's got the link. Come join us. Yes. Okay. Hi. Yeah. Okay. Then I'm gonna carry you guys. How many people do we have in here? It'll get to be more the longer this is up. I know. It's got to be like here. This is the only place people like. Okay. Good. You see the side of your head TikTok. Okay. Hi. Sorry. We're on both. All right. So you guys come join us on Twitch. It's Fuck Off Friday. I'm actually nice on Twitch. Here, no patience. You guys are believing the dumbest fucking conspiracy theories I've ever seen in my life. It's insane. It's honestly, it's disturbing. It's alarming. It's disturbing. 150. You do better. So come join. Your Twitch won't work? What do you mean? Try refreshing. It'll work. Come join us. You'll like it. Pick up the book today. Yeah, you can also get the book for free from your library. You can check it out. I don't talk like this in public. Well, I don't know. Do you want to show up at my house and see how I'll talk to you? Do you want to give it a fucking shot? Do you want to try? Yeah, I'm usually pretty nice to people in public. Most of the time. But if you're weird to me, this happens. One time a guy was weird to me at a taco shop. I took the book out of his hand and I ripped every single page of it and threw it down the street. So, it depends. It depends on how you treat me. That's all I'm saying. Very normal. Communism is when I turn up. It's so high. The audio's so high. What do you mean? Does it need to be higher? I know. Fuck Off Friday is always funny on Twitch, huh? All right. No. So yes, I think you'll probably need a Twitch account, but you don't have to pay for it. It's free. Twitch is free, and it's a better platform for live streaming. It is a better platform for it. The audio should be so. It looks so high. The audio looks so high. It looks. Oh my God, Virgo's people are here. Yay. Audio's good. Well, I'll come bring you into the Twitch room, the office, and we'll hook up to the microphone. 200% quieter than TikTok. Weird. Okay, hold on. It won't be like this the whole stream. Give me a second. Let me yell at these people. You're unofficially with Virgo Raid. I believe it, London's best guy. I have a microphone. It's just not hooked up right now because we're trying something new today. We're in the living room, so we're not hooked up to the microphone. Okay, all right. So, let's see. Why are people racist in your capitalist country? What racism? Explain the racism that happened at the company, at the worker collective. Explain it for everybody. Explain what happened. Explain it. Oh, AI Summary says a Fuck Off Friday debate on politics and conspiracy theories. So true. You're actually AI cooked with that one. Explain the racism so everybody can see it. Do it. Explain it. They're talking about racism happening in our workplace. I can't wait to see them explain. What is it? Explain it for everyone. Where'd you go? Tell everybody what the racism was. The racism came from a millionaire landlord who claimed that 2 of their coworkers who weren't even me were racist because they said slay and it's giving, and they listened to rap music at work sometimes. That was it. Explain it. Tell everybody. Tell everybody what the racism was. We'd love to hear it. They'd love to know. Shouldn't they know about all the evils of our workplace? How evil it is? These fucking people. Where'd you go? Who left? He left. Okay. We got 200 people in here yet? Is it happening? Are we there? Did we do it? 212! Okay, we did it. Okay. Okay, hold on. I'm not on the mic. I'm going to get to the mic. Hold on. You guys, hold on. Okay. So you guys who are still here, come join us over on the real stream where we're going to talk about politics. Fuck Off Friday. I do remember Elizabeth Booker Houston. Insane human being. No, I don't think capital is that complex. You should be able to read it just fine. There's a pamphlet version that I think is easier to read. It's called Wage, Labor, and Capital. Start with that maybe if you don't want to read all 3 books. I think Wage, Labor, and Capital for the average person is probably fine. Okay, so I'm going to hang up here, so come join us over on Twitch. Happy Fuck Off Friday to everybody. Thank you for letting me yell at you. It's always fun to get it out of my system every Friday. A ritual we have, but it won't be Fuck Off Friday over on Twitch. It'll be normal over there. Okay, twitch.tv/BattleandPandelsm. Bye! Okay. I don't think it made a difference starting in here. And it was really hard, because now I have to carry the computer, and I got my charger and shit, so I don't think we're going to do that anymore. I think we'll just do it like normal. We tried it. We tried it, and the sound's weird. So. Fuck. Okay. Hi, everybody. All right. We gotta hook everything up. Shit talk. This is the microphone. Microphone. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. Okay, how's the sound? Better? Better? Hi, Bell Bell. Better. I knew it. I knew it. Okay, let's get the light going. We're gonna get it all. It's all gonna happen. I tried the experiment. I don't think it worked. I don't think it mattered. Yes, I have OBS, and I don't like it, but it does work. I use it, I don't like it. Oh my god, they were fucking insane today. They were so dumb. It's very, very challenging talking to them. It was Fuck Off Friday, you know? So I got to be mean to them, but holy shit. No, I have a MacBook. I know. I have OBS, Ghost has IBS, you know. We're all going through it. Okay. Okay. Get well soon. Millennial heart. Forks yelling. Fuck, I didn't get fucking water. I don't know, guys. It was weird today. A little, oh my god, I was just yelling at everybody. They're like extra stupid today. Something happened. They're extra stupid today on TikTok. I don't know what they're doing over there that's making them dumber. They shouldn't be getting dumber though. We have a communist party. We have many communist parties. How are they getting dumber? You know? I don't understand. At first there were, but then everybody just started reporting me for bullying them. Which, you know, was fair. I'm going to say it was fair. I was bullying them. So TikTok is now majority owned by Oracle, which is actually a tech company that was started by the CIA. Which is not a lie. And at one point, there was this complication where Oracle was trying, this is like back in the day, maybe the 80s or 90s. They were trying to get info to do something, but they needed security clearance, and you can literally see internal CIA documents being like, well, they're basically us, so shouldn't they just get our security clearance? So that is how much Oracle is just the CIA. That even the CIA is like, we're just like, how different are they than us, really? Right, okay. So, yeah, hi, baby. Yeah, pretty wild. Yes, I live in the United States. It's very dystopian here. That's why everybody's so dumb. TikTok's more probably has more ding-dongs. Maybe. And I'm a ding-dong magnet. The amount of bots, maybe. Oh, the CIA doc. I have a video on my TikTok, and they removed the sound, but I showed it in there. I don't know if I can find it searching off the top of my head. But maybe I can find the video. Maybe I can find the video. Let me look. Madeline Pendleton, Oracle. I remember I was in my car when I filmed it. And I think my hair was blue. I'm gonna look. Hold on. I'm just gonna give it a few seconds out. Not a long time. We're not gonna spend a long time looking for it. Just because I think that's gonna be easier than trying to find it. Oh no, Virgo. That's sad. Okay, I'm scrolling. I'm scrolling on my own TikTok to try to find this fucking video. Because I think it was a pretty good video, and then TikTok removed the sound. So that's how you know it's a really good video, actually. They really came for it. I'm just looking at some of my alerts, my like notifications while I scroll, they pop up. It's just like somebody's username on TikTok is Madlibs. And they're like a communist, and I think that's a really funny username, obviously. But now I just think of it all the time because it's like they literally just do Mad Libs. Like that's all they do. But like they're liberals and they're mad, and it's just all the same shit over and over again. It's like, if you go move to communist country, go move there. It's so funny. Enrico Langley's are preparing for the invasion by Cuba, railing against actually existing socialism. Exactly. I fucking Cuba is so bumming me out, dude. I'm so mad. Okay, I'm still scrolling. Opinion on Yugoslavia. Destruction of Yugoslavia is obviously a tragedy. I know, isn't Mad Libs funny? I'm like, oh, you're smart. Regime change in Spain. I don't know, they're acting up. Spain's difficult though, because Spain has the king still and the elected government. Are we putting boots on the ground, people? We don't know yet. We don't know. We don't have confirmation of that. Viva Tito. Revolutionary Tito, based as hell. You know, Yugoslavia struggled due to the Tito-Stalin split. Oh my god, I was just scrolling and I accidentally flicked backwards and I lost all my fucking progress on the scroll. Just so you guys can see what I'm up to. Look at this. Hold on. I'm just literally like scrolling. Look at it happen. Would love a proper ML Yugoslavia. Yeah. Well, I mean, Tito was in a hard place though, because I had to have an orientation with somebody at my party about the Tito-Stalin split. Because I was like, why did Tito do that? Why was Tito acting like that? And the person I talked to at my party was like, why did the fucking USSR sanction Tito? We know sanctions are economic warfare. Why did the USSR do economic warfare against a communist place? And I was like, fuck, you're right. You're super right. So that was like a good orientation for me. And I'm like, you're right. It's just hard. It was just bad. It was just difficult. You know? Trump just gave the judges in Spain some docs about our government. Okay, interesting. Used anti-communist arguments. Somebody, I don't know if you guys can see this person, you got banned for using anti-communist arguments. So you can ask questions. Basically, the rules are you can be rude if you're right. I'm going to cut over here. You can be wrong if you're nice. So just be nice and you can ask questions. I don't know about Tito. I've never seen Stalin trying to assassinate Tito, but I did see him try to overthrow him once. He tried to overthrow him once for sure. I'm still looking for the Oracle video. It's crazy they let me be a communist on here for so long. Linktree? Oh my god, I'm so happy it was helpful. Yay. I'm so happy. Oh my god, look how my hair looked so good pink. Holy shit. I'm scrolling back on my TikTok still trying to find this. Maybe I should have pink hair again. Look at this. Look at bright pink hair. Looked so good. Okay, alright. I'm still scrolling. I'm looking for the Oracle doc for anybody who's new. I'm looking for the Oracle doc right now. I had it in one of my TikTok videos. It's going to be easier than searching for it on the internet. And that's what I'm hunting for. And my hair was blue, and that's all I remember. My hair was blue when I was in a car. Yeah, vote on my next hair color while I do this really fast. Is my hair pink? It doesn't feel pink. It's not pink enough. You know what I mean? It's like not enough. Okay, I'm in the Cat Black drama era of that, where I learned that I am actually a cisgender woman who hates black people in Palestine. That was a fun week for me to learn that. Do you guys remember when I learned that about myself? Thanks to the internet. Aww. That's how I found that out. That was funny. Yeah, you remember? Yeah, it was a wild way to learn. Crazy way to learn. Oh, look, I'm blonde now. Look at now I'm blonde. This is when I got canceled for revealing the Democratic Party was paying your favorite influencer to say nice things about the Democratic Party. This is also when I learned that Angela Davis was actually a Black Panther. And her telling me to my face that she was not was wrong. And people on the internet knew better than her that she was a Black Panther. I learned that then. That was a fun time for me. We learned so much here. Yeah, hair color, cancellations. Jesus, I might not find this video. It might not even be worth it. Oh my God, look at this. Look at how bright that color was. That looked good as hell. What the fuck was that? How do I get that back? Yeah, I was blonde for a minute. People really did not like me when I was blonde. But this orange color though. Look at this orange color. Crazy. So neon. Okay, I'm only gonna give it a few more seconds. And if I can't find it, that's it. We're done if I can't find it. Okay? Angela Davis herself did not know she was a member of the Black Panther Party. Crazy. Thank God. God bless. God bless liberals on TikTok misrepresenting the Black Panther Party to try to trick people into voting for them. Thank God. Without them, what would we do? Pivot. I'm almost there. I'm almost there. I feel it. I feel it. Okay. Okay. We're in it. We're in it. It's around here. If I don't find it here, we're not going to be able to do it. You're new to Twitch. How do you respond to comments? There's like a little, I don't know if you're on your phone, but on the computer, there's like a little like bloop button you do. Oracle, Oracle, Oracle. I don't know, guys. Chat. It might be gone. I do know they took the sound off it, but I thought the video would still be up. I really thought it would. But no. It's gone. Some videos about Hamas. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to search for it somewhere else. I'm so sorry. Thank you for going on that journey with me. Hello everybody. Hello everybody. Welcome to the real stream. How are you today? It's Friendly Friday here on Twitch. It's Friendly Friday. Cloudy SE. We're gonna have a Q&A in a second, and you're gonna be able to ask whatever questions you want. Everybody ignored that I just did that. I just knocked out the charger from my wall. So to get us started for today, we're going to set a timer for 10 minutes and we're going to start with a Q&A period. When the 10 minutes is up, we're going to move into our regular content, which is going to be talking about the news. So to get us started on today's stream, I've got 10 minutes on the clock starting now. Feel free to ask any questions you would like. Go. It could be about me. It could be about politics. It could be about anything in the world. Is there any books, essays, or articles about Tito and Stalin? I could have sworn Tito was extremely argumentative and being outwardly overly critical of Stalin pre-Cominform. So, Concreto, so in my podcast episodes about Yugoslavia, I have all of my sources. And the podcast is called Pick Me Up, I'm Scared. It's more history-based. Not always, but it's more history-based. And there's 4 episodes about Yugoslavia, and there is some stuff about the Tito-Stalin split. I happen to think Tito was being a little bratty about his new bestie Albania in a way that was not fully necessary, but I also understand that the USSR was trying to control the autonomy of Yugoslavia in a way that maybe wasn't so fair either. So in general, I just tend to think of it as an unfortunate beef that drove Yugoslavia into the arms of the IMF in the West. It's not ideal. So I think the lesson we can learn as comrades is that even if you have beef, you should always side with each other first and foremost, right? Okay. Yes, we should do a poll on my hair color at the end of the stream, maybe. How have prices been in the USA since 2023? Real fucked and weird. Real bad. Gas is $7 a gallon by my house. I live in LA, but still, $7 a gallon. Yeah. I feel like in 2023, it's probably like $4.50 or something like that. It's crazy. Do I ever experience ADHD hyperfocus? Yes. Like every day. That's how I'm so productive, is I go into hyperfocus mode most days on a task. The conditions have to be just perfect for it. But then I'm just like, zoom. And it actually is a problem in my relationships. Everybody I date has been like, it's literally like nobody's home. It's like, hello, hello, hello. And you're just like nothing, can get in the way. So that's how I was able to write a book. That's how I'm able to do all my podcast research, etc. So yes. Thoughts on Antifa? No thoughts. Antifa is not a real thing. It's just people generally being like, I don't like fascism. And then if you're not from the United States government tried to pretend like it's a real organization. It's not. But they're smart to pretend like it's a real organization because that means they can charge anybody with being an Antifa. It's not a real organization. So everybody could be Antifa if they want. You're trying to start a business, going to an insane amount of money, so looking for investors. I saw you talk about this. I would say, look, my business uses investors and not investors, uses financing. If I was going to start a business today, I would never take out a single penny of financing. We started with $200 each, me and my friend. And then once it got to a certain point, we started taking out loans. Not worth it. I wish we never had a single loan. So I would say be very, very wary about investors, and if possible, do it without it. Taking a long weekend, any plans? I'm not sure. It depends. So basically, every year on Memorial Day, we do at my work our equivalent of Black Friday, but for May. So if the sale goes well, I'll be able to take Monday off of work. The whole website's 50% off for like a week. That's what we do. It's like insane. So it was like when I went to Cuba and I was like, we just need money coming in while I'm in Cuba. It's like that right now. So our whole website's 50% off. So if it goes okay, I'll be able to take Monday off. My partner's off on Monday, so it'd be nice to be able to hang out with them. My favorite horror movie is probably Dead Alive. Not Evil Dead, but Dead Alive. AKA, it's called Brain Dead in some countries. It's the New Zealand horror movie. A zombie movie done by Peter Jackson, the guy who would later go on to do the Lord of the Rings movies, which is crazy. I have for an operative. Unfortunately, no. Not yet. I'm trying to use optimistic thinking. I'm trying to manifest it. Maybe they'll start paying me. Would I ever share my astrology birth chart? I don't keep track of things like that because I don't believe in astrology, but I was born August 17th, 1986 in Fresno, California at 8 in the morning. So you can feel free to do that if you would like. How would you recommend running as a socialist in local government? See if there is a party where you live that actually runs socialist, and if not, you can run independent. Try just social media. Just get it going. I don't know. Start really small, though. Maybe start with, like, city council or something. I'm searching. Do you believe Yugoslavia was a good state even though they suppressed their citizens? I don't think Yugoslavia suppressed its citizens. I don't know what you could be talking about with Yugoslavia suppressing its citizens. To me, the question of whether Yugoslavia was a good state or not is the fact that they relied heavily on market socialism and also took out IMF loans. Those things I think are less than ideal conditions. However, I recognize that those conditions were necessitated by their fracture with the USSR, being completely abandoned and alone in the world, and being preyed on by the USA. So I think those conditions weren't ultimately ideal. But at the end of the day, it is still a socialist state. I do still support it. And I think the transition out of socialism into capitalism was clearly very fucking devastating for Yugoslavia. So I mourn the loss of Yugoslavia with all that in mind. Okay. Is there any other communist as popular as you? I don't know. I'm not sure. On the internet, anyway. In life, yes. On the internet, in the West, I'm not sure. What other Marxist-Leninists have as big as a following as me? I think that's maybe why I'm targeted as much as I am, because for many people, I'm their first time ever encountering a Marxist-Leninist. And they're like, what the fuck? This isn't Democrat. And they think even like socialist, it's going to be like Bernie Sanders. And they see me and they're like, what the fuck is happening? So that's why so many Americans and Westerners have a meltdown when they see me. They've literally never encountered a Marxist-Leninist before. Even though Marxist-Leninism globally is very popular, it's just not very popular in the West. So I think that in the West on social media, I might be the most prominent, but I'm not entirely sure. What's your opinion on schools teaching about the USSR and spreading misinformation about communism? I mean, we know why they do it. We know why they do it because they want you to hate communism. That law was just passed saying that they're going to be doing anti-communist classes taught by the Heritage Foundation in Florida public schools. It's because Gen Z has such a favorable view of communism and socialism, right? 2/3 of Gen Z has a favorable view of socialism. 1/3 has a favorable view of communism. They're terrified. They're terrified because they need us to hate communism and think communism is evil. Well, they can't do that without spreading misinformation about communism. So they have to lie to us about communism so that we don't have a communist revolution, because a communist revolution would compromise their fortunes, their wealth, and their security. And they don't want that. The rich people don't want that. So it makes sense that they're trying to suppress it. We just have to figure out how to be better than the U.S. government at information spreading. It's a big ask. Whatever. John Curacao, is it? He's a guy who's like, I used to be CIA. I haven't watched his content. I don't have any strong feelings on him at all. 419 where you live, Comrade Lilith. It was under $3 2 months ago. Wow. Okay. You're new to communism. Do you think it could work if it replaced late-stage capitalist society, such as in America or in the UK? Yes, I do. Not only do I think it could work, I think it will happen. I don't know who Spencer Pratt is. I have no thoughts about that. What do you think a teenage communist should do to educate themselves on communists? Join a book group or start a book group with your friends. I have an entry-level reading list in my link tree I recommend everybody start with. You can go from there. And when you turn 18, I would suggest looking for an org to join, a Marxist-Leninist org near you. But in the meantime, read the basics. Read Marx, read Engels, read Lenin. Get reading. Do not go into too many online slop hole content places, unless they're reading theory. But some of these people, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. So I would say the best place to learn about communism is in an org, but as a minor, you might have a hard time finding an org, so just try to do the basic reading on your own. Da, da, da. Okay, hyper-focused on communism. Very new to it. We love to see it. Okay. Thoughts on DPRK saying divorce is anti-socialist. I have not seen that. That's funny. I obviously don't agree with that if they did say that. I don't know if they said that. But I think that a lot of times we confuse being socially progressive with being communist. We obviously would love it for everybody to be socially progressive. We believe that socially progressive values are the values of the working class. However, I think it goes without saying that places cannot be where we would like them to be on social issues, and they are still communist and worthy of being defended. There are plenty of capitalist places that are not where we would like them to be on social issues. So that in itself is not a reason to condemn a place that is socialist. DPRK, for example, they don't have laws criminalizing homosexuality, but they don't have laws protecting homosexuality. And their general take is that gay people just don't exist where we live. We don't love that. That's not super progressive. But we recognize if we want these countries to become socially progressive, we have to allow them to become politically and economically stable first. Those are the necessary precursors for socially progressive ideas. So if it is true that the DPRK hates divorce, that would be another example of that, like them not being super progressive on gay rights. That doesn't mean we don't defend them, and we don't stand with them, right? And we know if we want them to get there, political and economic stability is how they get there. So, you might have situations like that where, for example, they're worried about things like birth rates to sustain their society and their culture. That influences a lot of places that are dealing with poverty, having restrictive policies on birth control, for example, or abortion. These aren't great, but we know that if you want people to be able to have access to those things more freely, that country getting economically and politically stable is a precursor that would help them get there. Okay. Srebrenica, I'm guessing you're talking about the Bosnian genocide. I don't think it's shocking to say genocide bad, but Srebrenica on the whole, I think, it's horrible the way that they were controlled by NATO. It's horrible they had their autonomy taken from them by NATO. Okay. Is there any... Oh, we talked about this, the communist thing. Is it Memorial Day weekend? Yes, it's Memorial Day weekend. Overbearing zombie mom movie. I prefer to think of it as the fun zombie baby movie and the I Kick Ass for the Lord movie. Best quote ever in a movie. Oh, also, your mother ate my dog. Pretty strong. There will be a stream on Monday either way. Oh, and there we go. We hit our 10. Okay, I'm scrolling to meet you all in the current. Hi, welcome. Hello. Welcome. I'm here. Yay, everybody. Yay. How is everybody? How's everybody doing? Welcome. All right. Today is Friday. We're back on the news. There's a lot in the news to talk about today, chat. I'm interested in some things, and my mind has drawn a blank on all of them right now. But I remember waking up being like, I can't wait to take a look at the news. And now, I don't even fucking know. Yeah, there'll be a stream on Monday no matter what. Yeah. Yay, you made it to Twitch. Welcome. So I felt like there was so much shit. I was like, we have to talk about this. Cuba maybe was an update for one of them. What else was there? There was so much interesting stuff going on. I'm gonna look before we start our voting. 10,000 people signed the South Korea passport petition for reinstating the passport. Yay! I'm so excited. Hi, Julia's here. Yeah. Trump immunity from IRS. Gaps in transfer. What the fuck are we looking at? The news is so stupid. I want foreign policy. Give me foreign policy. There's so much interesting new stuff. Voter confidence in economy. Oh, you know what? There was also the DNC autopsy report got released. Julia? Who is Julia? Juche Julia. Our resident Juche squad friends. We love Julia. In this house, we believe Julia. That's what we believe. That's my sign that I would put in my house. In this house, we believe Julia. Yeah, I haven't seen that. Also, about the, I haven't seen that about the divorce thing. Join us in following Julia. I think everybody should follow Julia. Whoop whoop. Yes. Yes, we support all Julias. That's my radical hot take, is that I uncritically support all Julias. Okay. Yeah, there's so much going on. Timoshenko. I love her. Have you seen her hair? Have you seen her hair? I'm coming out as radically pro Timoshenko. Nobody click that. They're not going to get it. Have you guys seen her hair though? Cause is she really a Julia? Is that her? Yeah, Yulia. It is her name. Her hair takes me out. I'm obsessed with this bitch. Look at her fucking psychotic hair. She's so psycho. Look at this Ukrainian nut job. Look at her. Look at her go. Look at her go. Wow. She's crazy. I'm very fascinated by her. I'm not going to lie to you all. She's very fascinating to me. Oh, okay. All right, everybody. We're going to get into talking about the news. We're going to do it. I thought there were things I really wanted to talk about, and now that I'm trying to remember them, I can't. There's us inventing fake claims about Cuba trying to hit us with drones. Marco Rubio saying that Cuba is a national security threat. That was interesting. There's the Democratic Party releasing, finally, the 2024 autopsy report. There's so much. She is the gas princess. She truly is. Don't do it quite yet. We're going to do a countdown. So if you're new here, here's how this works. We're going to talk about current events today. And what I'm going to do is a countdown. And when I end the countdown, you are going to be, everybody in the chat, allowed to submit a news article that you would like to consider for us to talk about today. The top 5 that are submitted, we are going to do a poll on. I'm actually going to submit one today, so I think you guys will have 4 and I'll have a submission. And then we'll do a vote on which of those we want to do. And then we'll get into the news. And we will talk about the news for a while. And the last 30 minutes of the stream today is going to be dedicated to filling in our map. We are currently mapping the camps. There's some stuff going on with the UAE also. I don't know if you guys saw that. UAE and Iran kind of talking about maybe a ceasefire thing. So yeah, we might want to change how we think about the UAE during our map as well. Raul Castro, there's so much happening in the news. So take a second, collect your ideas about what news stories you would like to talk about. My news story that I'm gonna go with is this fucking psycho. My rec is gonna be Cuba. So if you guys don't do Cuba racks, do different racks so we can get a good 5. Get it ready, get it ready. Don't submit them yet. Don't submit them yet. We're not doing it yet. Hold, please. Yeah, I was thinking UAE might be bratty cuck, but I don't know. That might be something we consider for map. They might be bratting up. They might be a little. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. They might be doing that thing. How did we position them before? UAE, we had them full cuck maxing. They might just be regular cucked, not even cuck maxed anymore. They might just be your general run-of-the-mill cuck. I don't know. Can we play this during a poll? Yes, we can. Autistic Betty 3. We will do that. Okay. So get your links ready. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go. Give me your news. Give me your news. Okay, great. We got some Venezuela coming in from Virgo. We love to see it. We have Putin, moment of truth. Stalinism, Putin on Stalinism. You're speaking my language. We have the Philippines. That's number 4. And then number 5 is Kim Jong-un. Oh, this is for a joke. This is a joke. We'll look at that afterwards. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, then we have no status updates. Okay, BBC. Yes, Raccoon Child's the one I'm taking. That's a valid link. 4 killed in protest during Kenyan strikes over high oil prices. Okay, we've got 5. We've got 5. We have 5. It is closed. All right, so let's take a look at what we've got. We have my rack, which is, this is his legacy. Marco Rubio nears goal of toppling Cuba's government. What a fucking psycho. Okay. Then we have, this is from Virgo, betrayal in Venezuela. Venezuela's betrayal of Alex Saab is handing over to the U.S. leaves little room for debate. The Bolivarian Revolution has been seriously undermined and can only be revived by the Venezuelan people themselves. Sad. Sad but good. Sad but good. A good read. Good read for us. Putin's moment of truth. End the war. Or embrace Stalinism. Why? Because he's killing Nazis? Is that the through line there? Can't wait to read that if we get to do that. 19 killed by Philippine army, including 2 U.S. citizens. Things are going off in the Philippines right now. And then 4 killed in protests during Kenyan strikes over high fuel prices. These are all great options, chat. You've really delivered today. You have really delivered today. So we're going to do the poll. Virgo, are you ready for poll? Are you ready? But imagine I said it like Jonathan Davis from Korn. Are you ready? Like that. Dun-dun, 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 dun-dun. Okay. Oh, poll's already up. Virgo's already got it. If you don't see the poll, refresh your chat. It's at the top. You know the rules. Voting is mandatory. Exercise your civic duty. Democracy only works if you make it work, comrades. Get in there and vote. Get in there and rock the vote. Okay, who's got a video for us to watch while the poll's going on? Some people. Okay, Mackenzie has one. Sorry, I'm just kind of taking them when they're convenient. I know it's not fair. I apologize. You may gulag me. I have it coming. Okay.
China has been able to offset some of the energy shock from the Iran war. In the Strait of China's been able to offset some of the energy shock from the Iran war and the Strait of Hormuz being shut, in part because of its commitment, its shift to renewable energy in recent years, like here in northwestern Gansu province, where this major solar thermal power plant rises out of the desert. You can see streams of light there beaming from these 12,000 mirrors, which move with the sun, redirects that sunlight onto that central tower there, heating molten salt to extreme temperatures. Now, they say in just 1 hour altogether, they're able to generate enough energy for a family's regular use in China for about 40 years. In fact, they say the tower generates enough energy by itself to power the equivalent of Aspen, Colorado for a year. China's been able to offset some of the
Elmira, that's smart. I should do that. You're right. You are correct. We should be back now. It looks green now. I don't know. We got a 9% dropped frame rate, according to OBS. 9%. But we look good now. It looks good now. But you're right. I know it's annoying. It's annoying. I know it's fucking annoying. You try refreshing, because it looks like it should be working fine. I can see when it's supposed to be bad, because I get this, like, on OBS, it tells you, you know, like your dropped frame rate and your speed and your connection. So right now it's green. It looks like it's good. But yeah, Elmira's right. I should buy an Ethernet cable. I should definitely do that. Yeah, my computer, I think, has one. 337 people today. Nice. It looks like Putin and Stalinism is winning. This is going to be very interesting for us, chat, if this is the winner. All of these were great selections, though. I'm going to encourage you all to read all of these stories. I will probably also read these stories. These are good ones. These are really, really, really good ones. Oh, does anybody else have another video they would like to submit for us to watch? Or should we talk about things? Should we chit-chat? What do you guys think? What do we think? Kim Jong-un. Oh, this is a story? DPRK slop content? See? I need the burr, 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 and then I could have the little vocal. DPRK slop content, slop drop, something like that. Like slop drop. Thank you, Julia. You're my favorite communist influencer. We need a slop drop sound effect. Okay. Russia gifts dozens of zoo animals to North Korea. Well, that's it. I'm not supporting either. That's not vegan. Just kidding. Oh my god, what the fuck is up with this website? This looks like shit. Okay. Oh yeah, here we go. This is an old one. This is from January. I'm familiar with this story. I love this story. North Koreans are banned from eating hot dogs as part of a crackdown on Western culture, according to The Sun. Dictator Kim Jong-un has declared that serving sausage is an act of treason. Your average American will read this, and Brit, and Australian. We'll read this and go, yeah, that looks right. That looks real to me. This checks out. Okay, all I have is coffee again. I don't know where my Erewhon bottle went. It's also forbidden this American Korean hot pot with corn and ramen. They hate that. Oh, it's from Radio Free Asia. Yeah, okay, yeah, obviously. Radio Free Asia reported in November that authorities have now banned this soup, along with the rice cake dish. I love those rice cakes. I can't pronounce it. I can't pronounce anything. Wild. Radio Free Asia. Thank God we have this excellent reporting. And divorce is frowned upon in the communist nation as it's considered anti-socialist. A divorced woman who claimed to have served 3 months of labor in South Pyongyang province told Radio Free Asia that women receive harsher sentences than men. Okay, all right, okay. So, Radio Free Asia is cooking up a storm right now. Putin solves in one. Great. We got to talk about it. We got to keep talking about this. You ever feel like you haven't been gay enough recently? I get it. I feel that way sometimes. But luckily, baby girl partners growing out their hair again and starting to wear and cute little fun buns and barrettes and stuff and pigtails. And I know we're gay no matter what they look like, chat. I know it's not about your presentation. But you know, it is fun. It is fun. You get a little vibe out of it. You know, I just think it's a cute little vibe that their hair is getting long enough to do that again. And they're solidified and they're footing enough at work that they feel like they can have long hair and not lose their job now, which is cute. I say, you know, you feel it. You know it. You know. It's fine. But sometimes you feel a certain way. You know? Okay. So, Radio Free Asia, for anybody new to the chat, part of the USAGM, the U.S. Agency for Global Media. That is the United States government's official propaganda network, an official website of the U.S. government, U.S. Agency for Global Media. One of their networks is RFA. Let's see if the link's still broken. Do you guys think the link's still broken? Do you think these fucking idiots have fixed this link yet? Nah, it's still broken. But it is Radio Free Asia. That is what that's supposed to link to. This is them. This is U.S. government slop propaganda. This is funded by Congress. Radio Free Asia is funded by Congress. It was started in the 1950s by the CIA to spread misinformation about communism in Asia. If you don't believe me, I know I have links to this where it's a my North Korea thing. It is. Radio Free Asia. Radio Free Asia. Where are you? Radio. Okay, there you go. Here we go. This is in my North Korea document. So for anybody skeptical or new to the stream, let me just show you this. When you hear these fucking ridiculous stories, like they banned hot dogs and soup and rice cakes, and divorce is illegal but extra for women, and it comes from Radio Free Asia. Remember, Radio Free Asia is part of the USAGM. Failed to load. Fuck you. Okay, there you go. It was started by the CIA. This is from CIA.gov reading room. This is it, Radio Free Asia. The programs are principally anti-communist propaganda, right there. That's what it says. Okay, so we know it. We're not making it up. This is literally anti-communist propaganda created by the U.S. government. And give me my link, my linky. This is a funding record from Congress. This is from House.gov for funding for Radio Free Asia. Okay, so everybody knows. Just so everybody knows. When you hear, in North Korea, couples who divorce will be sent to labor camp from Radio Free Asia. We know. You know what that means. You know who's coming up with this. This is anti-communist slop propaganda funded by the U.S. government. Created by the U.S. government. It is the U.S. government. North Korea bans 2 South Korean dishes. That's the U.S. government. That's the U.S. government. All right, so this is not real. So this is the source for our stupid fucking divorce claim. Insane. Radio Free Asia reported, they're referencing themselves. I actually like this. They're talking about themselves in the third person. I think that's funny. Radio Free Asia is saying, Radio Free Asia reported in March 2023. I love that. They're talking about themselves in the third person. That's so cool. So this is all fake. None of this is real. They also don't say people's names, you'll notice. They very rarely say anybody's names. It's always anonymous sources say. They're just making this shit up, right? Here we go. See, look. A resident who requested anonymity for personal safety. Well, that's convenient. That's convenient, isn't it? It's because it's not fucking real. They just made this shit up. Let's see about the hot dog thing. North Korean defector. Okay. We're learning this. Oh no, she's not talking about hot dogs. Is she? She is talking about hot dogs. This is a hot dog person. What's up with her? What's her name again? Who are you again, ma'am? What's her name? Did anybody catch her name? Oh, yeah. Ji Hyun Park. Who are you, weirdo? No. What? AI? Oh, AI mode's its own tab now. That's cool. Communism is when no rice cakes. No rice cakes. Okay, who is this chick, though? She's not coming up anywhere. Ji Hyun Park. Oh, because there's an actress with a similar name. We're not going to be able to search her. That's smart of them. Here we go. Here she is. Uh-huh. Co-author of some French bullshit. She's French. We can't trust her. She's French, guys. She's French. Yes. This is her. She lives in the UK with her family. She's at the Geneva Summit for Human Rights and Democracy, and she's the winner of the NatWest Chairman Award, the Amnesty Brave Award. All right. So this lady, she's part of the circuit. She's part of the whole North Korea defector circuit. I want to find out who she's actually, like, what is this fucking book? It's the story of a North Korean refugee and a South Korean writer living in the UK. Okay. There it is. All right. So she's part of the press thing. Oh, we got some raiders. Hi, raiders. Hello, Borlo raiders. We're just doing we're treating ourselves with the North Korea slop content before we get into the news today. France, derogatory. We're learning about the hot dogs and the divorce claims. I don't know if you guys are up to speed with that, but the U.S. government is reporting that hot dogs, we've known that. This now British woman is telling us that hot dogs are illegal there. But the United States is telling us that divorce is illegal there too. So, now the more you know. The more you know. Yeah, all this is definitely true. She escaped North Korea in 1998, but was sold into a forced marriage in China. Of course, you got to hit the double hit. Do the double hit. If you can take down North Korea and China in one French book, why wouldn't you? Yeah, it's very, very fascinating. Ugh, I can't with this lady. I can't with these people. I know they make a lot of money doing it, though. The Geneva Summit for Human Rights and Democracy. It's crazy. I don't know how you do this shit. I don't know how you just get on the... I was going to say I don't know how you just get on the internet and lie about things, but of course I do know that. Okay. Yes. All right, everybody. Should we get into our winning news story of the day? I'm very interested in our winning news story of the day. I'm very interested in all the news stories. I'm kind of sad all of them lost, and I'm also kind of happy this one won. That's how you know it was a good day for submissions for the news. Yeah, they have very well incentivized. They have no other marketable skills. They have to continue. As Julie was saying, in regards to the North Korean press circuit of defectors, what happens is most of these people end up in South Korea where they start doing it, and two things happen, right? First of all, North Koreans are heavily discriminated against in South Korea because the people in South Korea have been heavily propagandized against them. Like, people don't ever talk about this, but South Korea has massive amounts of internet censorship. They're not allowed to hear good or even neutral things about the North. Also the National Security Act, it's legal to say anything good about the North. So when North Koreans come there, they face employment discrimination. They're dealing with unemployment for the first time in their lives. There's not unemployment in North Korea. They don't know how to do things like pay rent and shit. Houses are free. So it becomes very, very challenging for them to figure out how to live. And, this reality TV show, Now on My Way to See You, is usually the entry point for all these people in getting into this. They pay $2,000 for 2 days of filming, and they give you a script and tell you what to read. And from there, you just have a built-in job, a career, and a good career of touring the world sometimes saying this stuff that's not true. And another thing that ties into this, too, is that South Korea has some of the strongest extraterritorial legislation concerning its citizens out of any country on the planet. So this basically says that even if you're not in South Korea, you have to follow South Korean laws no matter where you are. So gambling's illegal almost everywhere in South Korea except for one place, right? So it's illegal if you're South Korean to go to Las Vegas and gamble because it's illegal in South Korea. So these kind of thing. So it's illegal to say anything positive about North Korea as a South Korean citizen anywhere you go in the world. Anyway, so, when we see, for example, that this British woman is writing this book with a South Korean author, they literally legally cannot say anything positive about the North. It is illegal for the South Korean author, even if she's in England. Yeah, if you smoke weed on vacation, you're breaking the law. Exactly. So these things combined lead to this massive propaganda network just spiraling out of control. And it is sad for the North Korean defectors to some degree because you're like, well, they need to survive. Like, there was that one horrible story about a woman from North Korea and her child who starved to death in a South Korean apartment recently because she couldn't find work and she didn't know how to survive in capitalism. It is very sad for them. And this is a very easy funnel and easy pipeline for people to get into. So I understand why they do it. But it is crazy to watch it happen. You got banned for a second because you were saying some things about the DPRK. You used some time to learn about it. You're still not into it. Where did you learn about it, Corgio? What did you learn? Tell us what you learned. Yeah. How do they enforce that? It's crazy. I mean, South Korea has a lot of very draconian laws. Very, very draconian laws. Oh, you're told to stop pestering chat. Yeah. Well, if you don't learn anything, what are you going to do? You can lead a horse to water. You can't make him drink. Can't please everyone all the time. So, absolutely wild. Very sad. All right. Does anybody have anything else they want to add as final thoughts or questions about the DPRK and the propaganda thing and the hot dogs and the divorce? Give the resource doc. Oh, okay, well, yeah, I don't know. They're just not reading it then. They're just not reading it. Okay, I don't know why you're ignoring my queer Chinese liberation. Okay. I'm not going to ignore your queer Chinese liberation anymore. Okay, China's top court appears to privately say anti-LGBT discrimination is unlawful. Privately. China's top court states that discrimination and rights violations based on sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression is unlawful. I think we always do that there. But, I guess Westerners have been saying that they're really anti-LGBTQ. Right? Is that right? There was a news story about a defector in Vietnam who followed Kim Jong-un's motorcade crying and saying she wanted to go home. Yeah, and this is so true. Like, I love that Westerners are just now discovering China doesn't hate gay people. They have a whole fucking gay city. They have a whole gay city. Like, we used to have a gay city, San Francisco, and then Facebook took it over. We don't even have a gay city in the United States anymore. Our gay city went kaput. Where's our gay city? Where's our gay city? Hi, DJ Mule, how are you? Yeah. No, it's really fucking sad, though, about the defectors who want to go home. Because the thing, too, is like, and if you defect to South Korea and you say you want to go back home, they confiscate your passport. They say you're a national security risk and you're literally never allowed to go home. There are people who have staged hunger strikes trying to raise awareness to their case to get to go back home to the North. People go to prison over and over and over again because they won't shut up about wanting to go back to North. There was that one guy who just stole a bus to try to go back home to the North from the South and tried to charge it across the DMZ and got caught. Yeah, people want to go home all the time, and they're literally trafficked against their wills. Like, some people leave on vacation and get trafficked and aren't allowed to come back home. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy that we do this. Yeonmi Park's dad was accused of trafficking DPRK children. Yeah, because they were super rich and they were like weirdos. Yeah, and her mom's a weirdo too. Yeah, very, very weird. Yeah, Twitter. Elmira Marks Twitter. Oh my god. The ACP on Twitter. They're insane. They're crazy. I don't know why they're so obsessed with the gay people. It's because we're not obsessed with them back. They don't like us. Gay people, trans people, whatever. Yeah. Interesting. Chengdu. Yes, exactly. Gay city Chengdu. We don't have gay city San Francisco anymore. It's North Face City. It's Facebook City. It's Waymo City. They took our gay city from us, chat. We should be so much more upset. Back in my day, you could walk around the Castro district at 2 p.m. on a Wednesday. Guys would be naked except for a cock ring, like God intended. Now, a Waymo would sue them. You can't do that anymore. The Waymos will sue you if you're naked except for cock ring in the Castro district of San Francisco, I'm convinced. Getting harassed by the American Clown Party in the Discord and raided by Burger Rickers on Twitch. Is ACP in our Discord too? Oh god. Get him out of there. Yeah. Seriously, Big Yahoo. Yeah. Yup. Mission Street? No. Is Mission Street still seedy, Brody asks. No. They got rid of Mission Thrift. They got rid of those cheap artist lofts that used to be above it. All of the Mexican food bad now. Bad Mexican food everywhere in the Mission District. You don't want to go. You don't want to go. And the neat thing with the article is it goes over how LGBT aren't treated as a special class the same way they are here. They're treated as a protector workers. Yes. Yeah, that makes sense completely. Tulsi Gabbard just resigned. Well, they're going through them, aren't they? Okay. Cock ring. It's a ring for your genitals. For your penis. It goes on your penis. Yeah. I know things. Sex things. No, we had that in San Francisco. We had cock ring fashion. That's how gay it was there. I'm just saying. You'll never know. Today's children will never know. You'll never know about Castro cock ring. And bondage gear. And leather daddies. Just out. Just leather daddies as far as the eye could see. We used to be a proper country. That's all I'm saying. Okay. Leather daddy, tiny poodle, out at lunch. Why? You were allowed to bring dogs everywhere in San Francisco back then. Because you're all gay people and nobody had kids. Sarah was like, we have to let the gays bring their dogs everywhere. My dog, Modog, thriving in San Francisco. Thriving, allowed everywhere. The idea of a dog not being allowed in public, they'd shoot you in gay San Francisco. If a place wouldn't let you bring your dog inside in gay San Francisco, gay people could shoot you in the head. That's the country we used to have. We used to have a proper country. That's all I'm saying. R.I.P. gay San Francisco. Do you have sex communistly? In the streets of gay San Francisco, we were having sex communistly every day. Not with the dogs. They had their own. They had a dog park they went to. They weren't involved for that part. It was different. Yeah. And gay San Francisco dog walks you. Exactly. Okay. Let's get into the news. With that in mind, let's get into the news. Putin's moment of truth: end the war or embrace Stalinism. Bombast and swagger have given way to fear as hundreds of drones strike Moscow and the economy crumbles. So this story is from today. Today, subscribe to Continue. I will not subscribe to Continue Telegraph. I'm now addicted to archive.ph. Thank you, chap. There's a lot that goes into this. My first thought, obviously, when I saw this is embrace Stalinism. What do you mean, killing Nazis? That's more to Putin's point. Putin said that he was going to war in Ukraine to denazify. I don't really think that's why Russia went to war. I think it was the NATO thing. But whatever, that was his claim. It's not like he was wrong. The place is crawling with Nazis. But this just makes it look like it really was about Nazis. Because Stalinism, what is Stalinism? Stalinism's not a thing. That's Marxist-Leninism. The only thing Stalin did that was unique from Lenin was kill a bunch of Nazis. So in my head, the only thing that makes something Stalinism is you kill Nazis. So this is really just making Putin look like he's killing a bunch of Nazis. I mean, I don't really know. The Banderai, they're always after me. These sick fucks. They out themselves, though. That's the thing. You just let them talk long enough, and then people are like, holy shit, these people are insane. And you're like, yeah, they're literal Nazis. Yeah. They're crazy. Suddenly, say those who live there, the mood in Moscow feels very different. Ever since Ukraine's counteroffensive stalled in August 2023, the Russian capital has exuded confidence. Its residents could either bathe in the patriotic glory of war or ignore it altogether, shutting their eyes to the distant suffering while reaping the benefits the conflict brought to Russia's economy. We're going to open that. This could be written about the United States, by the way. No longer from the corridors of power to ordinary Muscovite living rooms, the discourse has changed radically. Bombast and swagger have given way to introspection, fear, and above all, a growing longing for a war that dares not speak its name to end. Now, I just want to say, the economy of Russia, I'm very interested to read this economy link that we're going to have because this is just anecdotal, so who knows? It could be fuck all. It could be bullshit. But you guys remember my encounter with the Ukrainian washing machine repairman who had left Ukraine during the war and moved to Moscow for safety. And he said that everything was going fine. He's a small business owner in Moscow until the whole world sanctioned Russia. And then he was like, well, that's annoying. He did imports and exports. He's like, but I still have half my business. And then Russia just sanctioned everybody back. And he's like, that's really what tanked the economy. And then Russia was just like, fuck you guys then. We're going to sanction you too. Which I think is a funny move. And I can see myself doing the same thing. But that's why I should never be in charge of a country. Because I would just sanction everyone back and be like, fuck off. Fuck you then. And that's what Putin did apparently. So I don't think that the war was ever good economically for Russia, based on my understanding from people. But, you know, that's anecdotal. Who knows? Maybe there was something. I don't know. It's pretty. Yeah, I'm also too petty to be a political leader. I should never be given that much power. No, I will just insult everybody all the time. So the reasons are not hard to discern, according to this article. War no longer feels remote. Last weekend, Moscow and its environs came under one of the most sustained aerial attacks of the conflict, with Ukraine launching hundreds of drones at the capital. The strikes killed 3 people, damaged residential buildings, shut all 4 Moscow airports, and hit the city's oil refinery. Muscovites listening to drones buzz overhead and air defenses firing to the night were given an unwelcome glimpse of life in Kiev, and they did not like it. Well, yeah, no shit. The reason why they went to war with Ukraine is because they were terrified that they were going to get fucking bombed by NATO. So what do you mean they did not like it? The whole war started because they did not like the prospect of being bombed, and Ukraine refused to negotiate with them over that. So for the first time since the war began, I felt personally scared. One woman, a designer in her 30s with 2 young children, tells the Telegraph. Yet it is not just a single night of strikes that explains the shift. Putin is facing a series of interlocking problems. Ukraine is hitting deeper inside Russia than ever before. Russian advances on the battleground have slowed sharply and may have stalled altogether. And economists warn that despite higher oil prices and some easing of U.S. sanctions pressure, the windfall from the Iran war will not rescue the ailing Russian economy. As a result, see, this is what I mean. I didn't think their economy was booming from the war. As a result, analysts say the Russian leader may soon face a moment of truth he has long tried to avoid. Within the next 12 months, he will either have to scale back the war or break his unspoken pact with the Russian people by forcing far more of them to fight. The Kremlin faces a fateful choice, probably within the next year, says Nigel Gould-Davies, a senior fellow for Russia and Eurasia at the International Institute of Strategic Studies, a British think tank. If it is to sustain the war, it will have to make decisions about extracting the resources it needs to fight it much more systematically and coercively. There will have to be some form of return to Soviet-type administrative measures. I mean, what does that mean? Soviet-type administrative measures. That just sounds like fear-mongering from some British guy. What does that mean? A planned economy? What are they fucking talking about? The cost to Russian society would be immense. According to an IISS paper published this week, Putin may ultimately have little choice but to move to a Stalinistic-style economic model, subordinating the entire economy to the needs of the state. What the fuck does this mean, chat? A Stalinist style economic model. Okay, so Marxist essentially planned economy, subordinating the entire economy to the needs of the state. Is this bad? I don't understand this. What? They're just like rambling. This is gibberish. What does this fucking mean? So you're gonna have to, because you're in war, you're gonna have to manage your economy better to support the war? What the fuck? What? This is so dumb. These people are fucking stupid. Okay. That argues Mr. Gould-Davies would mean rolling back many of the post-Soviet liberties Russians still enjoy. Market freedoms, labor freedoms, and even the right to travel and live abroad. Okay. This is just some British guy making shit up. Market freedom. Fuck that. That's not a fucking thing. Who fucking cares about markets? Labor freedom. No, they don't have labor freedom. That's fucking ridiculous. They deal with unemployment now. They never dealt with unemployment before. Cost of living way higher, blah, 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 whatever. The right to travel and live abroad. Why the fuck would that be impacted? It's just insane. I guess maybe if they're like, we need soldiers so you can't flee the country or something, but like the United States fucking had that in Vietnam. That's not like a Soviet exclusive thing. That's just like a war thing. I really don't understand this. Okay. Red Scare never dies. They're just rambling shit. They're just saying nonsense. They're saying scary anti-communist nonsense. It's ridiculous. All right, whatever. Panic in the Kremlin. Predictions of Russia's collapse or of the tide turning against the Kremlin have been made so often that they understandably provoke skepticism. Yeah, they do. Donald Trump certainly appears unconvinced that Ukraine has regained the initiative, doubling down on last year's claim that Zelensky doesn't have the cards by insisting recently that now he's got even less. Yet much of the pessimism about Russia's trajectory is now coming from not outsiders but within the country. Last month, Elvira Nabiullini, Putin's central bank governor, warned that the country's labor shortage was the worst in the history of modern Russia. Even before the invasion of 2022, Russia's population was shrinking. Since then, hundreds of thousands have fled abroad, while at least 1 million more have been killed or wounded. Russia is running out of workers. Some estimates now put the labor shortfall above 2.5 million workers. What's the unemployment rate in Russia? Okay, so they have an unemployment rate of 2%, and they have a number of unemployed people at 1.6 million. So literally, if they did switch to a centrally planned economy that was based more on Soviet era, they have 2.5 million workers they need. They have 1.7 million people out of jobs. They would just, you're telling me they would just allocate 1.7 million unemployed people in jobs. Is that bad? Am I supposed to think that's bad? I don't understand. I don't, okay. It's weird. Whatever. All right. Others are sounding an alarm too. Reflecting anxiety within the bureaucracy, Russia's Economic Development Ministry has reduced growth forecast. Gennady Zyuganov, leader of the Communist Party, which backs Putin in the war, warned last month that the economy will inevitably fail, and even raised the specter of the repeat of the 1917 revolution that toppled Tsarist rule. Other communist legislators have openly called for an end to the conflict. Chris Wafer, the Moscow-based chief of macro advisory, a strategic business consultancy, adds, "It is striking to see senior figures essentially saying the longer sanctions and military spending continue, the greater the damage to Russia's long-term economic future. Normally, this is the kind of thing the Kremlin would censor." Normally, this is just you just making bullshit up. Okay, whatever. I think that they wouldn't censor this. I've seen Russia for years talk very candidly about its economic situation. I think what's also interesting in this is that in the United States, war is money. War is profit. Why? Because we have private defense contractors. That's the bulk of our economy at this point, right? Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, etc. Now, we know that Russia isn't communist, but we also know that their second largest political party is communist. And because of that, we know that they have more tendencies towards Marxist-Leninist ideas within their existing capitalist system than many other places in the West do. So when you look at a place like that, the less war is made into a capitalist business enterprise for private weapons companies to make money off of, the less profitable war is going to be. I think that's just like an interesting dichotomy to point out, right? In the United States, the longer you have military spending, the better the economy is. But in a place that doesn't reward weapons contractors like that, defense contractors like that, war is not necessarily good for them. It's a drain on them. And I think that's very, very, just a good, interesting thing to point out. Yes, as Julia says, the U.S. doesn't have a democracy. It's the United States of Raytheon. And this is what I ask liberals. Who do I vote for if I don't want Raytheon writing rules? Who do I vote for if I don't want Northrop Grumman to be my president? Right? We don't have shit. So perhaps the unusual official frankness reflects mounting public discontent. Perhaps this is all they're just making shit up, basically. We also don't know what % of people feel this is going to happen. It could be 3 kooks they found, whatever. Anti-war protests remain unlikely in such an authoritarian state. Take a shot. But the Kremlin is all too aware of the special military operation. It's enjoying far less enthusiasm than it once did. Yeah, war weariness. Hello, anybody who plays Civ knows what I'm talking about. A man with a picture of Soviet leader Stalin attends a rally to mark Labor Day on May 1st in Moscow. I thought everybody hated communism. Why does this man have a portrait of Stalin? I thought everybody hated communism and everybody who's ever experienced communism was so happy to be out of communism. The propaganda's not propaganding, guys. I'm getting conflicting propaganda messages. What do you mean this Russian guy is walking around with a picture of Joseph Stalin? I thought they all hated him and he was a big evil dictator. Whenever you play Korean, so you always make it communist. I love that. Interesting. Okay. I'm confused. I thought you told me they hated it. With drones now striking not just Moscow, but cities like Yekaterinburg, more than 1,000 miles from Ukraine, increasing numbers of Russians blame Putin for bringing the war to their doorstep. Anger is also rising because of tighter internet restrictions, particularly against Telegram, the last major independent social media platform still operating in Russia. Above all, though, there is exhaustion. Russia's war with Ukraine has lasted longer than its involvement in the First and Second World Wars. In fact, it is the longest major conflict in modern Russian history, and many citizens are sick of it. We are making history, but it is a history we don't want to make, says one Moscow resident. People just want this to end. One Moscow resident. We don't know who. Okay. Much of the frustration is economic. During the first years of the war, significant state spending on armaments and military salaries triggered a consumer boom despite Western sanctions. Demand for property and durable goods surged, while car loans more than doubled in 2024. But the boom proved unsustainable. To contain inflation, the central bank raised interest rates to 21%, and rapid growth has given way to stagnation. Nor, despite earlier hopes, is the Iran war likely to transform the picture. Freed from some of the restrictions that forced it to hawk oil at steep discounts, Russia has sold fossil fuels to an energy-starved world as fast as it can ship them, generating roughly $40 billion in export revenue since the U.S. strike on Iran began in February. The extra revenues may help stabilize the budget and prevent a financial crisis, but they will not revive the broader economy, argues Mr. Weaver, who has tracked the Russian economy for 35 years. This is just some British guy, by the way. The war in the Gulf has bailed out the Russian budget, he says, but it doesn't do anything for the economy. We are looking at long-term stagnation unless the government starts to do something to prepare for recovery. That is why officials are saying the conflict needs to end. The data supports the gloomy assessment. For the first time since the start of 2023, Russia's economy contracted in the first quarter of this year, while the economy ministry has cut its 2026 growth forecast from 1.3% to 0.4%. Outside of the defense sector, the picture is bleaker still. The Russian private sector has largely been destroyed, analysts say, while labor shortages have forced many factories onto 4-day weeks. Okay. Russia now has a two-speed economy. I just feel like this framing is really incorrect because they still do have unemployment. So if this was a true centrally planned economy, they would have zero unemployment and all these people would be working and you wouldn't have labor shortages to that extent. It just wouldn't happen, right? So, I don't know. I just think that's interesting phrasing. Russia now has a two-speed economy, says Timothy Ash, a London, some other British guy, based strategist at Blue Bay Asset Management. The war economy is functioning, but the rest of the economy is suffering badly. After a decade of sanctions, it's reaching its limits. And yeah, the sanctions have been bad against Russia. The sanctions have definitely been bad against Russia. Yet even the war economy may now be approaching full capacity. And again, the sanctions aren't Russia, though. That's the Western world. Major defense firms are already operating around the clock to produce weapons for the front. Converting civilian factories for military use risks deepening distortions across an already strained economy. Labor shortages are now so acute that Russia is trying to recruit more workers from India and Africa. Remember, we saw that yesterday, chat, when we were talking about Africa. A policy that risks fueling anti-immigration tensions without solving the problem. Even more worrying for the Kremlin is the manpower crisis at the front. For the first time since late 2022, Russia's battlefield losses appear to be outstripping recruitment. Some estimates suggest Russia is suffering 35,000 casualties a month. I don't think that that's realistic. While attracting 24,000 to 30,000 volunteers. They don't have a source on that. That does not seem realistic for the... Yeah, exactly. Some white guy, as Julia says, Russia losing, some KKK cracker. Yeah, this is just some British guy talking, and I don't know how they would be suffering 35,000 casualties a month. That doesn't seem realistic. Putin, therefore, faces a critical decision. For the first time in its history, Russia is attempting to fight a major war without full-scale mobilization, something even Britain did not attempt during either World War. Yeah, no shit, Britain had to be begged and coaxed into joining fucking World War II. They were trying to be buddy-buddy with the Nazis. Russia, Mr. Gold Davies argued, created a war economy but not a war society, shielding most citizens from sacrifice while paying volunteers to fight. But that model of paying rather than forcing Russians to fight is becoming unsustainable. I mean, Ukraine's literally kidnapping guys off the street to force them to fight. You guys have seen that, right? They're literally like grabbing guys off the street and throwing them in vans to force them to fight in this war. So they're saying if Putin wants to continue the war, mass conscription may eventually become unavoidable. When Putin announced a partial mobilization of 300,000 men in September 2022 after Russian battlefield setbacks, hundreds of thousands fled the country. Again, protesters with a portrait of the Soviet leader Joseph Stalin at a Labor Day rally in 2022. These are the people I'm expected to believe hate communism. These people experienced communism and hated the USSR so much. These are the people. This lady. This woman. Standing in front of the hammer and sickle, cheering, clutching a picture of Joseph Stalin to her bosom. We're supposed to believe these people thought Joseph Stalin was an evil dictator. What? How the fuck am I supposed to believe this? The propaganda is eating itself. They don't even know. They don't even know what they're saying anymore. Okay. I'm just gonna save that picture. That's just good to have on deck. Oh, she's yelling angrily. You're right. Because there's no more Joseph Stalin. You're right. She's like, give me back Joseph Stalin. No, you're correct. Cheering was maybe... Jeering. She said, more Stalin. More, bring him back. Bring him back. That's what she's saying. Right? And this lady's like, fuck, hell yeah, sister. Look, she's happy as hell. She's like, fuck yeah. That's right, my bitch. That's what she's saying. This. Just beautiful. Okay, so... A far larger mobilization would dramatically alter the war's balance, particularly given Ukraine's own recruitment problems. Yeah, and much smaller population. But it could only work if the Kremlin reversed many of the freedoms Russians gained after the collapse of the Soviet Union. I don't know, it seems like they don't miss anything from the Soviet Union, judging by this picture. It seems like they're not too concerned with the freedoms they got after the Soviet Union, based on what I'm looking at here. I'm just saying. The right to own assets freely, choose employment, and leave the country. The right to be unemployed, to have privatized property, and okay, maybe leave the country, whatever. You know, communists, we do a little bit. We want to know how many people are in our country because we're planning for you to be there. That's all I'm saying. That is true. You got to let us know if you're going to leave the country because we made dinner for you. So if you're not going to be here, that's awkward. That's all. That's all we're saying. Okay. All right. So whatever. Freedoms in question. Pizza Hut. Yeah. She's illiterate. That's preventing military-age men from fleeing abroad would become essential, and just as in Joseph Stalin's times, sustaining a vastly expanded war effort would require subordinating the private sector to state direction, something increasingly advocated by hardliners within the system. Since 2023, some prominent public figures have begun to extol not only the Soviet, but specifically the Stalinist economy. Mr. Gold Davies says, these are exactly the steps that the Russian state would need to take to organize fully for the war. For 3 years, Putin has asked ordinary Russians to tolerate the war while largely shielding them from its cost. That bargain is now fraying. The Kremlin may no longer be able to wage war abroad without dragging Russia back towards the coercive authoritarianism, take a shot, of its Soviet past. Okay. So, also I didn't even catch this. We got a little Lenin Stalin here. All right, that's what's going on. So we've got some backstory here. We got some thoughts. Oh yeah, we can't. Okay. Am I actually going to be able to open these from archive.p? I feel like it's not actually going to let me. No, it's not. Okay, that's fine. Whatever. We can search for what we need. So, chat, let's talk about this, right? Let's talk about this a little bit. Now, first things first, we know the whole thing about the war, right? I think it's pretty safe to say that despite Russia saying it was about denazifying Ukraine, and Ukraine was full of Nazis, we all know this is true. I think it's pretty safe to say Russia felt extremely unstabilized by NATO expansion and the prospect of being encircled by NATO missiles. So the idea that Russia never expected to have war on its doorstep, I think that's a lie. I think that's very clearly a lie because the whole reason they went to war is because they were terrified at the prospect of having war on their doorstep that they could not control. They tried to negotiate, obviously, we know a number of times with NATO and with Ukraine. They made a number of offers to the West going back to the 90s, right? To try to minimize aggression and tension with the West. They did not want to go to war with Ukraine. They did not want to go to war with NATO. They also did not want to have Moscow encircled by NATO missiles, right? So, you know, Finland were plopping fucking missiles down. They were plopping missiles everywhere. And then Ukraine is like 500 kilometers from Moscow. So I think it's pretty obvious the whole not wanting to get attacked by NATO thing is the reason why Russia went to war. I think that's probably important. I think that, you know, also it is worth noting that the Nazi thing is real, very obviously. And I think additionally, the liberation of the Donbass, the secession movement of the Donbass region from Ukraine, people really downplay this. And that is a right of national sovereignty, of self-determination for those people. That is important. You know, you think about how much the West puts an emphasis on independence and separatist movements that do not have widespread support. I always think about Taiwan. 4% of Taiwan wants immediate independence from China. And look what we do. We paint them like innocent victims of big bad China trying to oppress them. Meanwhile, you have the Donbass region, an area that overwhelmingly the mass majority voted to secede and become their own country because they were so horrified at the Nazi direction of Ukraine. Nobody talks about them as freedom fighters, as wanting independence, as their right to self-determination and autonomy. And Russia stepped in to support them. Now, nobly, in one regard, you can say, well, that's noble that they stepped in to support them. Also, just being practical, geopolitically, it benefited Russia to have a buffer between them and this new neo-Nazi country, Ukraine, that wanted to join NATO and hated Russians, that had a public policy within their borders of hating Russians. Russia, of course, very obviously viewed that as a threat. Right? But this rhetoric, anti-Ukraine rhetoric, was not going on in Russia. Russia did not have a problem with Ukraine. Russia was doing deals with Ukraine, was doing trade with Ukraine. There were a number of people in Ukraine's borders who considered themselves ethnically Russian. There was no problem until the United States backed a 2013-2014 coup in Ukraine and put a bunch of Nazis who hated Russians in positions of political power and influence. So this idea that somehow this is Russia's war, any way you look at this, if you're looking at them backing the liberation of the Donbass movement, an independence and secession movement that only started because the super right-wing fascist government we backed there in Ukraine was trying to hunt the ethnic Russians, like, you know, that they didn't start. The idea that they were threatened by NATO expansion, they didn't start that. There wasn't Russia missile expansion towards the West. Russia wasn't courting countries in the West and parking Russian missiles there. It was the complete opposite of that happening. And furthermore, Russia reached out a number of times with NATO to try to negotiate. And what did Biden say? Hold on. It's just crazy. It's just crazy, all of this. Let me see this. Red line. This is the quote I'm looking for. Oh, it's purple, apparently. I look at this a lot. 2021, before the war, before the invasion happens, Biden warns Russia against red lines. Joe Biden has warned that he will not accept red lines set by Moscow as fears mount that Russia is planning an imminent invasion in Ukraine. This is 2021. This is months before the actual war happened. We knew what was going to happen, and Russia was still trying to negotiate over it. Like, oh, just please don't put a NATO missile in Ukraine. That's all they wanted. Very, very reasonable demand, right? If you're an American like me, I just say, imagine that China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea form an alliance and start parking missiles in Tijuana pointed at downtown Los Angeles. You're not going to be so fucking happy with that. So, this makes sense. No country, as Julia says, other than the United States is allowed to have sovereignty. And that's exactly what it comes down to. So this idea that somehow Russia started this whole conflict is frankly fucking ridiculous. They did not. They did not start this conflict. And the idea that now they're going to suffer, like, now the Russians are going to see war. The Russians always knew they were going to see war. That's why this started. They were complaining from the jump about increased military aggression from NATO, from Ukraine, from the West, pointed at them. And that's what they were terrified of. So I think this analysis is extremely short-sighted. It obviously plays into the myth that Russia just invaded Ukraine overnight, unprovoked, for no reason. It ignores the independence movement of Donbass. It ignores the coup that happened in 2013, 2014. It ignores all reality. Biden never spoke with Putin once after the start of the war. And Putin offered a number. Let me see if I can find this easily. Otherwise, I'll have to go to my podcast sources on this. Okay, so here's an article from fucking 2008. Putin warning over NATO expansion. Today repeated his warning, 2008, that Moscow would view any attempt to expand NATO to its borders as a direct threat. Chat, remind me, is Ukraine on Russia's borders? It is. It's 500 fucking kilometers from Moscow. Russia has been angered by the 26-nation military alliance eastwards growth, and NATO yesterday said Ukraine and Georgia, both former Soviet republics, could one day join. The NATO Secretary General at the time said 90 minutes of talks on the final day of a 3-day summit in Romania had been in a positive spirit. But Putin, who described the negotiations as constructive, agreed to allow NATO to cross Russian soil to deliver supplies, including food and military equipment, to its forces in Afghanistan. But it fell short of NATO hopes that Putin would also allow troops or air transit arrangements to pass through Russia. Of course fucking not. And remember, NATO was designed to be anti-Soviet Union. That was a military alliance against the Soviet Union. So when the Soviet Union stopped existing in 1991, why did NATO still exist? Well, they just turned it into anti-Russia. So this military alliance directly exists for the West against Russia. So the fact that Russia is like being nice to them at all is frankly very fucking nice. But it's also not surprising that they were like, well, you can't have troops in here. That's crazy. It is crazy. It is super, super crazy. Absolutely wild. Putin has been trying to negotiate over this forever. Let's see what else we had. Annexation of Crimea. They don't talk about that. Crimea asked to be let in. Nobody wants to talk about that. The source of Russia's fears of NATO. Let's see about that. Reducing tension between Russia and NATO. That's 2017. Putin softens the tone on Baltic quest for NATO. 2001. Like, he tried. It's absolutely wild. Julia says, I remember when Zelensky and others were claiming DPRK soldiers were in Ukraine before it was confirmed and showed evidence, like a video with metadata that reads Chinese soldier, mistaking Asian-looking ethnic Russians for Koreans. So he said they have not provided a single piece of good evidence for this. And a year later, when the DPRK confirmed it, they were like, lol, you were wrong, and asked for evidence. Exactly. It's like they just make shit up, you know? And it's not wrong to want answers, to want to know for certain, to be like, can you show me this? Because it's like, well, it wouldn't be surprising necessarily, but also people just run around and say shit. So yeah, Putin toned down Russia's objections to Baltic states' goals of joining NATO. So he was working with them, Baltic states visiting Finland. This is from 2001. He was pretty fucking chill about it. But, you know, Putin also said NATO's eastward enlargement is anachronistic. We are not glad about this. We think it is a mistake. This step will not contribute to European security. He said in 2001, only a feverish mind can imagine that any country in Europe, Russia included, harbors aggressive intentions. And so he was said from the jump, I don't want to fight you guys. I don't want to fight you guys. I think it's stupid to try to expand NATO. And he even let them know. He was like, okay, like I'm being kind of chill about it, but this is dumb. Why are you doing this? And this is back in 2001, right? On the whole, Putin appeared intent on casting himself and by implications Russia as a party to debate rather than a practitioner of intimidation. Well, yeah, because he's not. And Putin did want to join Europe. Putin himself is not a communist, right? The Russian government has communist influence because of the party there. They have a lot of power. That's, you know, good. But Putin himself is not a communist. He wanted to join Europe. He wanted Russia to join Europe. Capitalist Russia joining capitalist Europe. And it was Europe that wouldn't let him. Which people seem to conveniently fucking forget. Right? Yeah, DPRK just in Russia. Yes. DPRK, their soldiers are in Russia defending Russia's borders from Ukrainian invasion. And maybe, I would not be surprised if they ended up in the Donbass ever, but the Donbass is not Ukraine. Despite Ukraine trying to convince the rest of the world that the Donbass region is still Ukraine, it is not. That is its own country. They declared their independence. They do not want to be a part of Nazi fucking Ukraine. And it's a massive cope that Ukraine will not recognize this, that people will not recognize their independence movement. They will recognize the independence movement of a place where 4% of the population wants to be independent, Taiwan, before they will recognize the independence movement of the fucking Donbass region where, you know, hold on, I'll fact check myself just so I get this number right. In 2014, hold please, we're pulling up the data. Okay, this is before the independence movement when they tried to join Russia. 99% of Donetsk asked to join Russia. 98%, oh my god, I can't read those, of Luhansk. Oh, Luhansk is how we usually spell it with an H in English translations, okay? 93% of Zaporizhzhia and 87% of Kherson. So this was them trying to join Russia. And then Russia was like, this is going to start too much conflict. We're not trying to have conflict. What if you become an independent country, though? Right? So, you know, this is just absolutely ridiculous. The framing of this is absolutely wild. I don't know. I think it's insane. I think it's insane to position it now all of a sudden. Like this is happening out of nowhere, or like Russia thought they would never be in military conflict. Russia has always thought this would end in military conflict. Since 2001, Russia was saying, why are you doing this? This will only end in military conflict. Russia has tried to negotiate. They've tried to be really chill about it. They have always known this would end in military conflict, though, and they've tried to avoid it. And the West has not. The West has not. So now to be like, oh ho ho, joke's on you, Russia. Now you're getting bombed and your economy's fucked from sanctions. It's like, well, yeah, they knew. Why do you think they chose to go to war after trying to negotiate for so long, for 20 fucking years and getting shut down? They knew. This isn't like a slap in anybody's face. They knew. This is what they tried to avoid for decades, and they knew it was inevitable. So anyway, very, very interesting. Very, very fascinating. Russia also does, yes, have a sizable ethnic Korean population, as Julia is saying that as well. Yeah. Yeah, the corruption leading up to Zelensky's election was wild. I mean, that's the reason why his main sponsor, Kolomoisky, he actually is like in prison right now for corruption in Ukraine. And all of this is framed as Russian propaganda. It's being reported by Western media outlets. Like, you think Jamestown in 2001 from Washington, D.C. is Russian propaganda? Come on. These people are frankly delusional. And this is when I tell you, when you talk to, we all know, MAGA is cult-like. We know that, right? We remember QAnon. We know how cult-like MAGA thinking is. Liberals are in a cult as well. They cannot see reality. And it is very, very hard talking to them for this exact same reason. When you tell them, this is the truth, and you can look this up, they're like, that's Russian propaganda. Like, they're so fucking brainwashed. They're living on a different planet than the rest of us. They're not living in reality. And that's why a lot of the decisions they're making politically only make sense if you recognize that they are brainwashed, that they are in a cult, that this is rational for them based on their perception of the world. But their perception of the world is not grounded in reality. It is delusional. It is frankly delusional. And you know, we look at like Russia, for example. Yeah, that's what they always say. Oh, you're obsessed with Putin. You're obsessed with Putin. I'm like, I don't. Putin's whatever. He's leader of Russia. Fine, whatever. He's not a Marxist-Leninist, but there are Marxist-Leninists in Russia. And look, they even have varying degrees of opinions about the utility of the war. I don't think anybody in Russia was like, we're going to invade Ukraine lightly. They've had a historical alliance with Ukraine. They've had a historically very positive relationship with Ukraine. They used to do amazing trade deals with Ukraine. Huge parts of Ukraine are ethnically Russian. The decision to invade Ukraine is not something that Russia took lightly, wanted ever, and it is something they actively tried to avoid, not just with Ukraine, but with all of their neighbors, going back to the 90s, but especially even 2001. And they actively tried to avoid it even recently. And Joe Biden was like, fuck you. If we want Ukraine in NATO, Ukraine's joining NATO, fuck off. How else could they take this other than the threat of war? Which is what it's always been. Why does NATO even exist anymore? To go to war with Russia. That is the whole point of NATO even existing, right? Nobody invaded Ukraine. I mean, 2022, I guess, you could say that was the invasion, right? It's declaration of war. But certainly they tried to make us think that Donbass was an invasion. It wasn't. Donbass was its own country. That's its own country. Like, they seceded. Sorry you don't like it. Massive L, cope, right? So, and that's what Ukraine tried to say, that Russia was in their borders before 2022. They weren't. They were in Donbass. They were in an independent sovereign nation that declared their secession and independence, and they were there on invitation from Donbass to help support their independence movement and fight off Ukraine, who's refusing to recognize their right to self-determination and their sovereignty, right? Yeah, Russia sent military assistance to Donbass because Ukraine was trespassing. Tools for Twitch, exactly that. Exactly that's what happened. But you can't say that. So that's why Americans aren't allowed to know about the separatist movement in Donbass. That nearly universally people in Donbass wanted to leave. That's why Americans aren't allowed to talk about Crimea. You notice we moved on from Crimea real fast. Why? Because they didn't want to show in the news people celebrating in the streets of Crimea feeling that they had been saved by being led into Russia. Nobody can know the truth, right? So very, very fascinating, very, very interesting. I'm very, very sad that the economy of Russia is adversely affected by this. It's tragic, right? It's also very sad that fucking Ukrainians are getting kidnapped off the street by the fascist fucking weird right-wing government to be forced to fight in this stupid fucking war for Western capital to get rich off of them. It's going to be very sad if Russia has to do forced conscription for its soldiers. It's just fucked for everybody except for the fascists in the Ukrainian government and a bunch of American businessmen, right? Donbass is not Ukraine. Yeah, they don't, and that's the thing. Democracy. Democracy for who? Democracy for who? The people voted. The people voted. The people of Donbass voted. Can you imagine if that happened in Taiwan? Can you imagine if 99% of Taiwan said that they wanted to leave China and China started bombing the shit out of them and sending in tanks? Holy fuck. Can you imagine? That'd be insane. That's what's happening in Ukraine, though. That's what's happening. They're not even Ukrainian. Yeah. Crazy. Okay, so there's my rant about that. That's absolutely insane. I think, though, what does this mean for communism in Russia? Let's do a final recap on that. We've got 10 minutes before we have to get into map. Let's talk about this. So if the implication of this article, if we believe it's true, which whatever, it's just a couple British dudes talking, fear-mongering about communism. But let's take a second and really think about Russia, a place we know is not communist, but has a large communist presence politically, right? I'll show you the source really fast on that. Let me pull that up for you. I'll get you a tiny URL link to this. this link I just gave, Prince Curry, that's the link to the figures on Taiwan. Okay, so let's think about what this really means, though. So we know Russia has a large Marxist-Leninist presence. It's not expressly a Marxist-Leninist country, but they have a large Marxist-Leninist presence. We know that people there have a lot of Soviet nostalgia. We know that, right? So, bye-bye. So what would it look like for them to have to take control of the economy more and employ more central planning in order to sustain a continued war effort? What would that look like, right? To defend themselves from NATO expansion, to defend the sovereignty of the Donbas region as they pledged to do, which I think is ethically and morally correct, but also is strategically advantageous for them to have that buffer. What would that look like? And what implications would that have for Russia's future, like a communist future in Russia? So that article predicted, like, what if the people rebel and then they have communism again? Okay, I think that's a little dramatic, probably. But, what if they don't rebel? But the thing that's interesting to me is that we could actually see real democratic socialism to some degree happening in Russia. They already have, because they're doing Lenin models of political engagement, they already have Marxist-Leninists involved in government. As Lenin talked about, Marxist-Leninists doing parliamentarianism, they're already doing that. So what would that mean? And the thing that is fascinating to me is they could have an experiment with democratic socialism, with actually pursuing socialism, and not like the United States DSA SOCDEM version of it, but like actual democratic socialism. If they have these elected officials already there, if they feel like things do need to fundamentally shift, I wonder if that would manifest in them trying to use parliamentarianism to implement actual socialism there to some degree. No, I don't think Putin identifies as a socialist, but I think it's an interesting thought experiment for us to do. I'm not saying I think it'll happen. I'm saying, like, let's imagine, though. I could see a world of this happening. Putin, I will say, I think enthusiastically tried to join Western capitalism and was rejected, was shut out. And so that's why I think it's crazy when the West wants to demonize Putin. I'm like, this guy tried to be your friend. He tried to buddy up with you. He's like, okay, fine, I'll play ball. You want to do Western capitalism? Let's do Western capitalism, babes. And the West was like, no, we need to demonize you, actually. And that has actually pushed him into a corner further and further in opposition to Western interests. So, I think that he tried. And that's why I think it's even crazier that the United States hates him so much. He fucking tried. Do we think the USSR will ever come back in some war? I think so. I think probably, maybe. He has the nostalgic support for Lenin, of course. Lenin supported their culture there, too. And I think that even a capitalist in Russia is going to have more positive ties and associations to communism. And I think at the end of the day, Putin will do what makes sense for not, like, just him, but, like, for the country, for Russia. What's advantageous for Russia. And if the West is systematically shutting Russia out from any of the capitalist Western world, my guess is Russia's going to go where it needs to go. And the irony is that the West is pushing Russia further and further and further into a Marxist-Leninist corner, into a Marxist-Leninist camp, right? The West's actions are pushing them more and more and more into becoming, potentially in the future, another USSR again, with this behavior, which is fascinating. Yeah, the West needs a forever demon. Exactly. So it's very fascinating. So I'm like, that's interesting to consider, just as a thought experiment. Is there a world where this could lead to the Marxist-Leninists in the parliamentary capacity introducing more actual democratic socialist measures, like central planning of the economy, et cetera, et cetera? That's a fascinating thing to consider. I can't make a prediction either way on it, but I think it is interesting for us to think about, if you think the DPRK shouldn't be bombed, you're in the camp with us tankies no matter what. You're socialist enough for the West, babe. Commie enough. Good enough. Throw them in. And that's really what they think. So, and this is the thing, too, the sad thing about, like, third wayism that we talked about, obviously. We've been talking about a lot with Africa, Libya, etc. Is that a lot of these countries didn't want to go fully communist because they didn't want to invoke the ire of the West. But the reality is, it doesn't matter how communist you are. If you do anything that the West doesn't like, you might as well be a full-blown Marxist-Leninist at that point, because the West is going to treat you like that much of an enemy. If Russia becomes another USSR again, things are going to get very interesting. The USSR's return would throw shit to the left way far, especially with China now. And China today is so don't make waves. I don't think we would see another Sino-Soviet split. So imagine Russia and China united as a communist force would be something. It would really, really be something. And I think we would start to see Africa shift a lot more communist as well in that way. And I think Asia too. Africa, Asia, and maybe even Latin America. Okay, do we think non-Marxist socialist countries will eventually have Marxist revolutions takeovers or remain non-Marxist but socialist? I think that's actually a really interesting question. I think it depends on how good the bread and circuses are and for how long. I have to believe it's inevitably a potential thing. Like, inevitably it'll happen. But, like, how long will it take depends on how well pacified the masses are. Right? Kuwashi's timing. How big Yahoo? Okay. Yeah, seeing Nigeria and other African countries have to suck up to the West, yeah, makes you feel like crying. I know, I feel the same way. And I think they feel like between a rock and a hard place. So that's actually a really good transition for us into the map. Because you can see, like, looking at the map, what places, if Russia were to actually move into a more communist position in the future, which I'm not saying, I think that's definitely going to happen soon or whatever. But that article seemed to position it that way, probably for fear-mongering purposes. But just if we imagine it as a thought experiment, what would happen? You know, I look at all the places that are purple, that are light pink. They would all probably go heavy pink really fast. Really, really, really fast. And I think it would spread. I could see the DRC having more of a resistance as well. They would probably go back to being the resistance. Oh, okay. Thank you, Hegel's Big Dialectals. Thank you. I'll go look. Angel Eyes, California Love. Hello. Okay, so with that said, let's move into map. Is everybody ready for map? Yeah, you don't even have to be fully Marxist. The non-aligned movement of the 70s proves that, exactly. You just have to be inconvenient for Western capital enough. Right? Okay, good. I just converted this guy to a communist. Are you a Marxist-Leninist, California Love 002? Are you a Marxist-Leninist now for us? For me? Yeah? We did it. We caught one. Stick around. We're going to talk about the news. Welcome, new comrade. Okay, great. Angel Eyes. Great. We love it. We love to see it. Perfect. Welcome to communism. It worked. We did it, everybody. So let's take a look at Zimbabwe today. Zimbabwe. Yes, Julia, this is the plan. This is the plot. Usually I wear a lower cut shirt for it to happen, but I'll take what I can get, you know? If it's working, it's working. I trust the system. Okay, so let's open up our kind of reference documents we've been starting with to talk about Zimbabwe. And then we'll take a look at what's going on in the news. Communism for everybody. This is the plan. This is the goal. I'm searching for Zimbabwe on the map. I've been really loving the map exercise. It feels so good to be able to visualize it. So first of all, they are not aligned with NATO. They're not one of those 19 countries. We have them mentioned in the NED report 3 times. That's going to be interesting. That was our map alarm. We already beat it, though. We're doing so well today, chat. So we have 7 mentions in the hyper-imperialism document. So, over the centuries, Europe created white settler colonial projects outside its historic core, including Zimbabwe. Yes, we know this, obviously. So, multilateralism, development, and peak security, current or historic progressive. Zimbabwe is counted in here. Interesting. Zimbabwe was a UK colony until 1980. Actually, I didn't realize it was until 1980. That's pretty late. Bye, Kobashi. And they are on a U.S. sanctions list for being historically too progressive, I am sure. They voted yes on a Gaza ceasefire, and they abstained from Russia withdrawal. Fascinating. Yeah, you're the one with the NED report. It's very, very good. It's very useful. Zimbabwe continues to face U.S. sanctions. Revolutionary potential curtailed. Tried to pursue progressive agendas. And this is like what we were talking about with Julia. You don't even have to be full-blown Marxist. You just have to be annoying enough to them. And this is what we're talking about. These countries are considered by the U.S. to have political positions that are Inimical to the hegemony of the global north, many of these countries have experienced U.S. interventions, hybrid warfare, sanctions, and government overthrows. Zimbabwe continues to face U.S. sanctions as a result of this. So they've been historically, maybe not explicitly Marxist-Leninist even, but just too progressive. So members of the Global South, emergent multilateral organizations, FUNC, and this includes Zimbabwe. All right, Zimbabwe. So what do we got going on with Ned spending in Zimbabwe? Let's take a look. Oh, shit. I hate trying to, control this for you. Okay, here we go. All right. Zimbabwe, we've spent $622,000 last year in Ned spending. So in propaganda, election control spending. And here is the details of that spending. Let's take a look. I'm trying to manage windows in Windows. It's very annoying. Okay. So promoting sustainable local governance through civic participation, that's election tampering, right? Engage policymakers, monitor counselor performance, boost community involvement, $60,000. Enhancing youth involvement in democratic processes, that's also election monitoring or tampering, $120,000. This is a lot. Promoting rural women's participation in accountable governance, $50,000. Amplifying voices for change, that's propaganda, that's $50,000. Building a citizen-driven constitutional movement that's literally trying to do regime change, $80,000. Engaging local organizations in democratic freedom, that's regime change operations, $50,000. Fostering citizen engagement for transparent governance, that's regime change, that's $62,000. Innovating human rights reporting and advocacy, that's propaganda, that's $100,000. Strengthening democracy and rule of law, that is regime change, $50,000. Okay, so we're really in there. Oh, we are really in there. Bandung Conference, 1955. No. 29 governments of Asian and African nations gathered in Bandung, Indonesia to discuss the world of the Third World in the Cold War. Yes, I do remember this actually. Yes. Do we have Zimbabwe in here? Nothing specifically. I bet they went. Okay, so Zimbabwe historically progressive. United States mad, investing a lot of money in Zimbabwe propaganda. So let's take a look at what's going on with Zimbabwe and Israel, Zimbabwe and Russia, and Zimbabwe and Donald Trump for their current position. News. Seems they told the U.S. to go fuck themselves over mineral rights. We love to see it. Rejects lopsided U.S. health aid deal over data concerns. Okay, they know. And then the coup nobody is watching. Zimbabwe's MDC alliance pledges to form strong ties with Israel. Who is MDC, though? Is Zambia. Okay, the coup nobody's watching. Times of Israel. So Israel is saying, South Africa. Okay, this week the test is not in the Middle East, it's in Zimbabwe. The MRP is not silent. The Mthwakazi Republic Party. MRP president issued a formal press release, South Africa's implied recognition, addressed to the governments of South Africa and Zimbabwe, to the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, and to the international community. This document makes the argument these 19 states refuse to confront. The doctrine South Africa placed before the ICJ is universal, and its application to the Matabele nation is not optional. It is the logical and legal consequence of the argument South Africa itself has made. So Zimbabwean authorities detained former finance minister Tendai Biti, the most prominent opposition of the Constitutional Amendment Bill No. 3, for holding a public meeting without police permission. Amnesty International condemned the arrest as an escalation of the crackdown on peaceful dissent. Biti was released on bail, and also this author was like, I cannot find them credible because they're reporting on Israel. Nobody's ever found Amnesty International credible. They're just some bullshit. They're bullshit every way around, though. They fling bullshit in the most liberal way everywhere possible. As Bigako said, communism is stored in the balls, and Amnesty International doesn't care what's going on, but it's going to kick the balls. So last year, the offices of this think tank were set on fire, blah, blah, blah. So, okay, here's my guess at what's going on here in Zimbabwe. Russia is committed to strengthening the combat capabilities of Zimbabwe's armed forces. Zimbabwe's lithium export ban signals that they tend to leverage critical mineral wealth, not for the benefit of Western supply chains, but as a tool of resource nationalism aligned with Chinese and Russian strategic interests. So I am guessing that this group, the opposition group, MRP, is backed by the United States. And that is the opposition group Ned Money is funneling a lot of money to try to overthrow the Zimbabwean government. This is what I think. Yes, here we go. Found it. I love being a Marxist-Leninist. We're psychic. We know. We're psychic. Hello. Please open my little linky. Proving my theory correct. Oh my god. Why wouldn't it open? It's all that I want in the world. Well, the article says the MRP calls on Donald Trump to intervene in Zimbabwe. Okay, so that's what the article says. I'm just gonna put that out there. The burden of always being right. We fucking know. We fucking know. Okay. MRP here. This is them as well. Ugh. Nothing's loading. But that's what's going on. Alright. My internet. Nope, it's not on that one. Oh, maybe it was actually. Why can't I open this? I want this. I just want to open this one, and it's like not loading. We've kind of talked about cock and balls a lot today in the stream. You know, what are you gonna do? Separatist leader. Okay, so here we go. The MRP, which has been calling on Donald Trump to intervene in Zimbabwe, is leading a cessation attempt to secede from Zimbabwe. They're trying to overthrow the government of Zimbabwe. All right, so yeah, this is exactly what's going on. So we've got this all figured out. This is exactly. So all of this money, so okay, Zimbabwe, too progressive, aligned with Palestine, BT dubs, and Venezuela, BT dubs. The United States, 2025, pumped $600,000 into Zimbabwe in trying to spread propaganda and do regime change. All right. Then we've got Israel coming out of the woodwork to be like, the only good people in Zimbabwe are this group, the Mthwazaki Republic Party. Thank God for them. They're standing up for truth, according to Israel. And then we've got, who's the MDC Alliance? Let's see what the MDC Alliance is. But we're going to figure that out. And then we've got those people now calling on Donald Trump to intervene, MRP, giving Trump in the U.S. room to interfere. So they're coming in asking for Donald Trump to intervene. So this is obviously the people that our government is giving money to, is the MRP. And the Zimbabwean government is like, yo, MRP, you're literally trying to like overthrow the government or do a cessation movement or something. What the fuck are you doing? And then the question remains, what is this MDC Alliance? Movement for Democratic Change. MDC. So how does that play in with the MRP? MDC versus MRP. Print planets. Nope, that's manufacturing. Okay. Presidential elections. Nelson Camisa. Let's see what's up with this guy. MDC Alliance. Voice of America. We have a Voice of America link, chat. We have some American propaganda chat. Okay. So this is the opposition leaders against the current existing government. I can't find, this is from 2017. I can't find what this has to do with the MRP specifically. But this is the guy who keeps running on their behalf. I'm going to try this one more time. I'm trying to figure out if the MRP is part of that MDC. Freedom House. We have a Freedom House report. We're hitting all of the big propaganda players. Oh, wait. counterparts. MDC Alliance, MRP trade barbs over BYO. Okay. So the two groups clashed as MRP activists accused the MDC Alliance of trying to impose a non-resident as city mayor. So they're fighting. Okay. So they are fighting, but they're both in opposition to the current government. Zimbabwe, not free. That's how you know. We should start looking at the Freedom House Index of how free people are, huh? So none of them are part of the Zimbabwe African National Union Patriotic Front. Let's see if they call themselves Marxist at all. Oh yeah, ideology, communism, Marxist, Leninism. Okay, so they are a political party that's currently in charge. Is Zimbabwe called themselves Marxist? Okay, listen, I know, but like now, are they Marxist now is what I want to know. We know they had this historical communist thing, but are they Marxist now? The leader to die is Emerson Mnangagwa. Is he a Marxist? They're not even close to Marxist today, Big Yahoo says. Okay, that's what I didn't think. I didn't think so. But the party he's with is apparently... historically... Oh, okay. No. They just previously used to have associations with the Marxists. Okay. Yes, the DPRK provided troops to help, as Julia is saying, in Zimbabwe's liberation war. I remember when they were Marxist. They have a Marxist-Leninist history, but I didn't think they currently were. Okay, so they're not currently. Okay, I was correct. All right, that's good. I was about to be like, wait, what? But no. Okay, so basically, I'm trying to figure out the guy, his current alliance. He's a member of ZANU-PF, the Patriotic Front. They're like a Pan-Africanist group, which obviously Pan-Africanism is very threatening as well. Left-wing populism, revolutionary socialism, but not Marxist-Leninist. ZANU-PF, were they historically Marxist? The original ZANU was Marxist-Leninist. This is the new breakaway org, ZANU-PF, which is just left-wing populism, Pan-Africanism. Yes, Mugabe was the revolutionary. He was couped in 2017. I remember Mugabe. Yes. But so the reason, all right, so here's what was going on. So the current party is a breakaway party from the original Marxist-Leninist party, but they're not expressively Marxist-Leninist. They're just kind of progressive. That's what it is. So originally it was ZANU. They were the communists, but the current party, they still kind of call themselves ZANU. They just call themselves, are they the ones that call themselves, no, ZAPU? ZANU? Hold on. There's ZANU-PF, right? ZANU-PF is the current one. Yes, that's the ruling party. So the ruling party is now called ZANU-PF. So it was ZAPU. Okay, I've got all the dates. I've got it pulled up, the dates. All the analogies confuse me. All right. ZAPU, 1961 to 2008. No, 1961, dissolved in 1987. Okay. Then we have ZANU, 1963, dissolved in 1975. They were succeeded... So they split from ZAPU. Okay. So it started with ZAPU. They are expressly Marxist-Leninist. Then we have a breakaway split with ZANU. And that happens. And they're still Marxist-Leninist, but they're also Pan-Africanist, etc. Then we have... ZANU has a split into ZANU-PF, which is not Marxist-Leninist, but is left-wing, Pan-Africanist, and populist. And ZANU-PF, the current first secretary is Emerson Mnangagwa. Mnangagwa, yeah. Who is president of Zimbabwe since the 2017 coup. Okay. I did it. Yes. This is what we did. We got there. We figured out the party split. Okay. All the letters confused me, but we got there. So, Freedom House hates them. They're not expressly Marxist-Leninist, but it's the thing we were just talking about. You don't have to be expressly Marxist-Leninist to invoke the ire of the West. So, the question today is, obviously, there's a coalition of different people who are opposed to them, but they are not super left-wing. So the question today is, are they the resistance or are they just defiant? The current manifestation. Neither was Gaddafi. Exactly. You don't have to be expressly Marxist-Leninist for the United States to fucking hate you. And the United States apparently fucking hates these guys. So, we're paying groups to try to overthrow the government there, very obviously. Israel likes the people we're paying to overthrow the government. And then we have this story from Israel that says, in September of 2025, Mnangagwa traveled to Beijing to stand alongside Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un at a Chinese military parade. Love. Okay. Russia has committed to strengthening the combat capabilities of their armed forces. So what do we think, chat? Are they the resistance or are they just defiant? I kind of feel like they're the resistance. I feel like you guys think defiant. The Emerson guy was the original militant ZANU. Oh, okay. This guy was raiding boar farms. Oh, okay. They have armed forces. Authoritarian solidarity. I like it. You guys think... I think we have to do a poll for resistant or defiant. Resistant, to me, the resistance would mean they will fight. They will fight off somebody. Yeah, if the U.S. is trying to overthrow you, that implies you are resisting them directly. And it does seem like the U.S. is trying to overthrow them. But politically right now, yes. Authoritarian solidarity is pretty good, yeah. So we've got the poll going. Thank you. We can vote. Resistance or defiant. I think my vote is they are the resistance. But I see an argument for defiant as well. I think 2-minute poll. Everybody get in there. Get your votes going. Get in there. See what you think. I'm liking understanding the current Zimbabwe thing. It is one of those things where it's like, okay, yeah, they're not communist anymore, but it doesn't matter. They're communist enough for the U.S. to hate them. Which is how it goes. Which we know that's how it goes. Catholic nun brings hope in rural Zimbabwe. Okay. I'm sleepy, chat. I woke up at midnight to launch that sale. I told you guys that, right? Because our sale launches at midnight. So I had to wake up at midnight to manually launch the sale. And I do usually wake up in the middle of the night, but I usually wake up for around 2 hours, sometimes between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. So waking up at midnight threw me off. Because then I was just up for like too long. You know? You know what I mean? Yeah, hopefully they'll join the Sahel State soon. Yeah. Saw the email. Yeah. Yep. Well, I go back to sleep. So I sleep in shifts. So ideally I do biphasic sleeping, but it's always hard when you live with people. So yeah, I sleep in like shifts. So usually ideally I'd sleep from like 12 to 2 or 3, and then I'll wake up for a couple hours and I'll go back to sleep again. It's like 8 or 9 now, but back in the day I used to sleep until like 10. Tunnel vision, always we start work at like 12, like 11, people would either work like 11 to 6 or like 12 to 7 or whatever. Okay, resistance, we're putting with resistance. Okay, chat, I like this. I like this. Okay. Yeah, I thrive on hate. All right, Zimbabwe. I feel good about it. Botswana, they're going to take it. They're going to convert Botswana. I feel it. I'm waiting for Botswana. They're going to go. They're going to do it. Okay. Yeah, the brand is called Tunnel Vision. Yes. Yes. Okay, everybody. I think that's it for today. I think our stream was really good. Did you guys learn a lot? We talked a lot about Ukraine and Russia. We learned about the framing of the war in the West. We considered what it would mean to have a communist Russia again. That was a fun thought experiment. And we figured out that while Zimbabwe might not be Marxist-Leninist, they're still Marxist-Leninist enough in the hearts of the United States government. Aww, that's so sweet. That's so sweet. We learned some. All right. We're going to keep the train going. We're going to go on over to Larry. Sending you there. I hope you have a wonderful day, everyone. I will miss you. I will see you Monday. I will be here Monday. 90% sure I'll be here Monday. Okay? So I hope everybody has a great weekend. And I hope nobody dies. Yay!
Get ready.
I might enjoy my weekend. I also made a Virgo emote. Did you guys see it? Did you do it? Did anybody use the Virgo emote? Yes. Wah, It's Virgo in a pink cowboy hat. Okay. Bye, everybody.